There you are.
Yes, good to have you again, Shihan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to be a part of this.
Thank you. We are honored. And how's it going today?
Fine. Thanks. Fine. Absolutely okay.
And just so you guys know, just before this talk, I was talking to Sensei, and he's taken up this art of calligraphy, and he's so good at it. I was so surprised. Yeah, it's so good. Would you mind just showing them just 1 minute
Yeah,
your
sure,
artwork?
sure, sure. No hassles. My pleasure.
So it is Shihan's brother-in-law's birthday today, and he's written a card for him.
Here you are.
Wow, there you go. And even the lion you've drawn?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's quite impressive. Very nice.
That's a spirit animal, depending on the Chinese astrological chart.
Oh, that's correct. Yes, every year
Yeah,
is something different, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, great.
So there you have it. It's nice. I feel good doing it. So what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
And it makes
And
someone smile and makes someone happy. So
yes,
even
yes, yes,
better.
that's totally worth it. Yeah, yeah. Of course, apart from that, you're pursuing a passion that you might have not before, and this is the correct time. So it's never too
Yeah,
late.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it helped me a lot in writing the names in English on the Japanese certificate that comes from
Hmm.
Okinawa and Canada.
Correct. Hmm.
So
Nice.
because otherwise the whole certificate is in Japanese, so it's
Japanese.
difficult for
Correct.
people to understand.
Hmm.
And somebody might, like I told you, somebody sent a certificate and asked me to verify it, and it turned out to be a menu. So
Oh, oh God. Okay.
yeah,
So,
they have
welcome
people in that.
everybody to the Fit Geek Show. We have Shihan Mistry again to address us. And last week we stopped at traditional methods of resistance training in Goju-Ryu Karate Do. And we will begin with the other part today, which includes one question that was how is the traditional workout in Goju-Ryu Karate Do different than a normal gym workout, and how Sanchin Kata plays an important role in resistance training by itself.
I think I'd answered the second question, which was 1 second. Yeah, how is the regular gym workout different from the Goju resistance training? I think I'd answered that. You want me to go over it again?
Just a few bits, please,
All
because I
right.
think we
Sure.
stopped right there, or might have missed it out.
Okay. Sure. Uh, as I said earlier, it depends on the specificity of the type of training you're doing or the
Hmm.
type of martial art you're doing. Like a judoka would do a different type of resistance training sequence
Hmm.
rather
Hmm. Hmm.
than a karateka or a
Hmm.
kung fu artist. Okay, because the two are quite different. The two arts
Hmm.
are quite different. Though in Goju in our system, we uh, we use both power as well as strength, muscular endurance as well as power. Okay,
Hmm.
and the power is because our Goju is basically a very close fighting system. We don't fight at
Hmm.
a distance. Like for example, Shotokan karate, okay, or
Hmm.
Shitoryu karate, which fights
Hmm.
at a distance. We
Okay.
are more in a close in. So we do a lot of arm locking, neck locks, spinal lock, knee locks,
Hmm.
takedown, elbow locks, along
Hmm.
with pressure on vital centers, pressure points.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So,
Hmm.
and you have to be really careful when you're doing this
Hmm.
because the student in the initial stages gets to a point where he has he has built up, let's say after 2 years, 3 years of training, he's built up tremendous power.
Hmm.
Okay, and when he comes into contact with anybody like sparring, he ends up injuring people. And this happens time and again, no matter
Hmm.
how careful you are. The
Hmm.
reason for this is, okay, now you've got the power, now you have to learn to control it,
Correct. Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
you have to go that close and no closer,
Hmm.
okay? Because understand the power development is so great that your fist is traveling literally at 80 miles an hour.
Hmm. Wow.
Once you get to that level of 5 years,
Correct.
6 years of training,
Hmm.
and if you hit anybody, you have an impact force of more than 2,000 pounds per square inch of pressure.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's like a Fiat car hitting you at 35 miles an hour.
Yes.
So so you can
Hmm.
understand what would happen if that actually contacted,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And taking that into consideration, it depends on the type of training you do. Now we have speed training, all right, where
Hmm.
I would put out 10 candles of 1 inch thickness in a row, light them up, and then one student would go for all 10, one after
Hmm.
another. Regardless, the idea is to extinguish the candle
Hmm.
by coming only 1 inch close to it and no more, no less. Sometimes
Wow.
the whole candle goes flying out because he hasn't got that type of control. All right.
Hmm.
And sometimes the candle just doesn't extinguish. You have to come in
Hmm.
that close. And you need a minimum of at least your speed of your punch to be at least
Hmm.
uh, about 3 meters a second.
Okay.
All right. To get
Hmm.
that type of force to extinguish the candle. And it
Hmm.
also depends on the type of punch you use. Like, for
Hmm.
example, if you use a straight punch and you stop and the candle is here and you stop, okay,
Hmm.
that's all right. So that would require a little more than 3 meters per second. It would require about
Hmm.
6 to 7 meters per second, and so on and so forth. If you do a pullback punch, so you're pushing air into and then you're vacuuming the air out of it. So that's a pullback
Hmm.
punch, what we call a
Hmm.
chokusugi, all right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Or
Correct.
a kizami sugi, or a short punch, kizami sugi, snap punch rather.
Hmm.
So it depends on what type of punch. This would require a little more force.
Hmm.
Then you have one of the most difficult methods of extinguishing. You keep your hand just about 1 inch away from the candle, and then you pull back your hand,
Okay.
and it should extinguish.
Oh
Yeah, it
wow.
should,
Okay.
and that requires a huge amount of force, huge
Hmm.
amount of force and speed. Okay, so
Hmm.
this is type of speed, type of training, and we also do kicks with it and try to extinguish the kick. And and for power training, we use the Kongo Ken or the
Hmm.
Tantan, which is the barbell with weights on
Hmm. Hmm.
either end. Okay, for conditioning and for power training. Uh, like I would take a barbell, okay, hold it in the crook of my arm, and then bounce it off, and the other guy at the other end would have to catch it and then bounce it back
Hmm.
to me. Right?
Hmm.
This requires conditioning and power, especially if you've got two 10 kg plates on either side.
Wow, that's a lot of weight. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of weight. Plus, the bar
Hmm.
is at least another 20 kgs of
Yeah. Yeah.
Olympic bar would be about that much also.
Correct. Correct. Hmm.
So we start off as a very, because you can seriously injure yourself with something like
Hmm.
this.
Hmm.
We started very slow with a 5 kg bar and then slowly develop it on. So
Hmm.
we use both speed, endurance, muscular endurance, and power. All right,
Okay.
in our
Hmm.
techniques. If you do
Hmm.
100 punches non-stop, you're
Hmm.
using a lot of muscular strength and power and muscular endurance. There will come a time
Yes.
if you continue where your hand will just drop
Yeah. Yeah.
to failure, basically to failure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so
Hmm.
that's the specificity of training, and we do all the techniques that a normal uh, person, we use suspension training also to enhance. At least that's what I use now. I used to be heavy
Hmm.
into weight training, but I've stopped it
Hmm.
now for the last, ever since my gyms, about 7 years, 8 years back. I haven't,
Hmm.
I only do resistance training. That's it. And freehand training.
Hmm. Hmm.
Calisthenics, basically. Okay?
Calisthenics, correct. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, calisthenics. And uh, so basically, uh, in exercise science, as you well know, all right, when you talk about power, so you say
Hmm.
power is force, right?
Yes.
So force is equal to m multiplied by a. So
Yes.
this is basically you using Newton's second law of motion,
Correct.
right? Uh, which states that force equals mass multiplied by acceleration.
Correct.
Correct? All right. So
Hmm.
that develops your mass. Uh, in other words, the faster and heavier you are, the harder you hit, but not
Hmm.
necessarily the faster you hit. So it's a
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
takeoff between your muscle mass and your speed,
And your
right?
speed, correct. Hmm.
Yeah. So because speed is what delivers the killing blow,
Okay.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
True.
And so you have to, like when I was training in the gym, I uh, I came up, I really beefed up solid. And in that process, I found that my speed was slowing down.
Hmm.
So I cut down my training and got to the maximum that I could find, both in speed in terms of power,
Hmm.
my maximum force. So
Hmm.
I cut down my training on my beefing up, and now it's, I think it's okay. I've reached the
Hmm.
optimum that my body is capable of giving.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay? So in as I explained earlier last time, we use different implements to help us train, right?
Hmm.
Both for speed and power. For power, we use the Congo can, which is the
Hmm.
U-shaped tube closed at both ends
Correct.
and partially filled with sand. So if you lift it and you're doing
Hmm.
a press, a clean and press type of thing, okay?
Hmm.
So when the hands go up, the body goes down in a shikodachi stance
Hmm.
or a
Hmm.
squat
Hmm.
stance, all right? And then you push up again and you come back down. So when you're doing things like this, it's very unwieldy because the sand keeps moving. It's
Hmm.
exactly like a human body.
Hmm. Hmm.
And in
Correct.
fact, most people think that this is implement from Okinawa. It's not. It's actually an implement from Hawaii. When
Oh.
Chogun Miyagi Sensei, the founder of
Hmm.
Goju-Ryu, went to
Hmm.
Hawaii, he saw the wrestlers using this. So he brought
Okay.
one back to Okinawa with him, and that's how it's got implemented in
Wow.
Goju
Okay.
system. Okay, uh,
Hmm.
so that's basically, we use all the aspects of fitness, including
Correct.
stretching and flexibility, along with
Hmm.
all the other stuff. Okay, so this
Okay.
gives a very rounded. In fact, I would say that Goju, what we practice today in IOGKF, is two aspects. One is self-defense, to protect yourself, all
Hmm.
right, and the second is uh, a very high level of fitness.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, which
Correct.
will prevent you from getting injuries with your training,
Hmm.
which incorporates, as I said, all the aspects of fitness,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So there you have it.
Great. Super. Yes. And now coming to your forte, you've written a book on this. So
Yes, yes.
how is
Yes.
yeah yes Sanchin Kata, yes, three battles.
Yep.
And so how is
How
it
does
important
Sanchin
in terms
Kata
of
help with
resistance
the
training?
resistance training, and how does it
Yes.
affect the physiology in the immediate and future?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Basically, I would say that in its essence, Sanchin Kata is
Hmm.
nothing but resistance training.
Hmm.
It's pure resistance training.
Hmm.
And the resistance training comes from two aspects, not only from the muscular contraction, which use both the isometric as well as the isotonic,
Hmm.
right? And the isometric is when you're, like if you held your hand out for about 10 minutes, that would be
Hmm.
isometric. And then it would
Correct.
eventually come to a point where your hand would just fall
Hmm. Hmm.
because the muscle wouldn't be able to take that type of load for 15
Hmm.
minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, so that's isometric. And the when you're moving a joint at a joint, you're moving an action at a
Hmm.
joint, a limb at a joint. That would be
Hmm.
isotonic.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Correct.
Sanchin Kata utilizes both. And it also utilizes the breathing aspect. And the breathing is done under uh, self-initiated pressure.
Hmm.
Like when you breathe in, imagine if you pinch your nose lightly, very lightly,
Hmm.
and now you're breathing in. So that would be under pressure.
Hmm.
Okay? That would be under
Correct.
pressure. So you're taking in air under pressure. All right?
Hmm.
This uh, works on a greater inhalation of air, which is a greater inhalation of oxygen along with all the other gases. All right?
Hmm.
And thereby, not only uh, do you enhance your blood circulation in all the far reaches of your
Hmm.
extremities of your body, but also in your brain.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this then works down to enhance your both your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system.
Correct.
Okay, because
Hmm.
there's more spinal fluid coming up and down your system, thereby giving
Hmm.
your nerves greater reach and
Hmm.
instant appreciation of the action you want to do.
Hmm.
So your
Hmm.
reflexes enhance. And by this type of training and this type of breathing, what happens is that you develop a sixth sense, so to speak.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Correct.
uh, I'll tell you uh, a small story. Uh,
Hmm.
we had done a very devastating session for about 5 hours in or 3 hours in Japan under Sensei
Hmm.
Higaona,
Hmm.
and then we were all going back in the train, and everybody is getting off at the station. And Higaona Sensei was instantly fast asleep in the train.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
We came to a station, and suddenly one of the students realized that this was Sensei's station. So he shouted out, "Sensei, Higaona, your station!" So there was uh, there's no hesitation. One hand went
Hmm.
up for
Hmm.
the bag above his head, and the other hand went down between his legs and caught both his bag and his uniform karate gi hold on. And in one smooth movement of nekoashi, which is cat stance, he just slipped
Hmm.
out of the door and the door closed. In Japan, you have automatic doors on the train,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And and he was there still in nekoashi as the train went past me. He's waving at us with his hand like that. So normally, when you get up from a dead sleep, okay, normally when you get up, there's a moment of hesitation. You kind of,
Hmm.
you know, you kind of stretch and you look around and then you
Hmm.
slowly surface. Here, nothing like that.
Correct.
1 minute's dead
Wow.
sleep, 1 instant, and the second minute, instant action. So that's
Hmm.
how Sanchin improves your reflexes. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, the other aspect is that this breathing also invigorates both automatically your lungs, your whole thoracic apparatus, so to speak,
Hmm.
and most importantly, your diaphragm, because that's where the power comes in from.
Hmm.
When you breathe in, when you're breathing inhalation, during inhalation, you need your muscles to help you breathe in. especially when you're doing it under stress, under
Hmm.
tension, so to speak, muscular tension, as we do in
Hmm.
Sanchin. And when this happens, uh, the blood actually is filtered down to all the organs, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, and it flushes out all the toxins,
Hmm.
right? So it's an
Hmm.
internal cleansing process that helps you rejuvenate your system every time you do this, and helps you get the best out of your system at any
Hmm.
given
Hmm.
time. Okay.
Hmm.
Coming on to the muscular side, the stance itself, the Sanchin Dutch that you
Hmm.
hold, okay, invigorates and actually enhances your posture. Okay. It
Hmm.
starts from the plantar muscle of your foot. Okay. So we
Hmm.
have what is known as tako ashi. I don't know if you've heard about this, but tako ashi means tako is octopus. So the
Okay.
feeling of picking, like the suckers of a, like
Hmm.
for example, if I keep my hands loose like this and press,
Yeah.
you get a little air coming out and a
Suction.
feeling of
Hmm.
suction
Correct.
if you do this. Okay, so the same thing happens when you spread your toes and you're gripping the floor with the feet. The plantar fascia at the bottom of your foot actually presses down through
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
arch of the foot, presses
Hmm.
down, giving you that much more support and
Hmm.
stability. Okay,
Hmm.
like a root, like you're rooting yourself in a place, in a position.
Hmm.
This then complements the right from the Achilles tendon to your calves to your anterior tibialis muscle, and it protects the knees. A lot of people, when I was, I now in when we have the international Rush schools, I'm honored to be teaching there. I teach there as one of the senior
Oh.
teachers of RG
Hmm.
Care. All right.
Hmm.
And a lot of people come up to me and say, Sensei, when I do Sanchin, my knees hurt like hell.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Because the Sanchin stance is like this.
Hmm.
It's like, okay. So some people have a tendency of overstressing the knee joint. In actual
Hmm.
fact,
Hmm.
the knee should be directly over the second toe of
Okay.
both
Hmm.
feet.
Hmm.
Okay. Regardless of what position your foot is in.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay? This is for optimum both stability as well as speed. Like if I want to move fast and my knee is not aligned to my foot, then I'm
Hmm.
not going to be able to move fast.
Correct.
Okay.
Hmm.
At the same time, if I want to root myself in a position, the knee also has to be aligned to the foot.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I will not be able to root myself. Okay. So it works both ways. All right. And having said that, uh, we use in karate, whatever action we do, the power comes not just from the hand or the leg. These are the limbs you hit with or you defend yourself with. Okay,
Hmm.
right? You don't hit somebody with your body and expect the guy to fall down. It's physically impossible. Okay, you might hug a person,
Correct.
but that's a
Hmm.
whole different ballgame. So, uh, yeah. So in this in the positioning of the feet, this internally enhances the vastus medialis muscle, or the muscle at the
Hmm.
top, inner thigh, basically, as we call it,
Hmm.
right?
Correct. Hmm.
And this forces the muscle out, thereby forming a wedge between your groin and the opponent's foot if he's coming for a groin kick. So it
Hmm.
actually protects your groin. Okay, both, even if a person
Hmm.
kicks you from the front or another guy kicks you from the
Or the
back,
back. Hmm.
this is again enhanced. Third thing, then we go a little higher, and your pelvic hip structure, the pelvic basin, so to speak. Okay?
Hmm.
And the pelvic floor muscles are lifted and tightened right from the sphincter.
Hmm.
Now, as you probably know, we have two sphincters. One is the anal sphincter, and one is a little higher up. Both are
Hmm.
locked.
Hmm.
Okay? Actually, we have many more sphincters. You have a solar plexus sphincter, you have a throat sphincter, you have sphincters
Hmm.
all over the universe. But these are the two main sphincters that you have
Main.
to you
Hmm.
pull inwards. All right? This
Hmm.
enhances the entire abdominal thrust, so to speak, which includes your six pack, your internal obliques, your external obliques, and the transverse abdominal.
Correct. Hmm.
Okay? And
Hmm.
all this is throughout the whole kata. It's about depending on your level of training, depending on and your expertise at that level. All right,
Hmm.
uh, you hold it anything between 40%. All right, and at the point of focusing, the final focusing, like the action which would actually be hitting something in a
Hmm.
fast punch like that. All right, but we do it slow because you're giving yourself tension. You're
Hmm. Hmm.
creating tension from within. Okay, you're creating the tension, and it's very slow. So every single muscle fiber of yours is working over here when you're doing it. And then again,
Hmm.
when you come in here, again, every
Hmm.
single
Hmm.
muscle, right from the shoulder, neck, trapezius, your uh, your sternomastoids, your
Correct.
trapezius
Correct. Correct.
muscle, your
Hmm.
pectoralis minor, your lat
Hmm.
muscles, your serratus anterior, working down to all the abdominal muscles which I just mentioned, they're all tight.
Hmm.
And this is performed with the gluteal, which is the major muscles of the leg, of the lower body. Okay, it's a huge
Hmm.
muscle. It works on three different parts of the muscle. Uh, the gluteus maximus, which is the main butt muscle, the minimus and the medius,
Correct.
all work
Hmm.
around the hip. And when they're all
Hmm.
contracted, your 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 pelvic is in a posterior contraction.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so it works it posteriorly, and by
Hmm.
doing this, you actually activate the transverse abdominis into contraction.
Okay.
Okay, so when
Hmm.
that happens, your whole spine becomes one straight line.
Hmm.
Okay, when that
Correct.
happens, you're opening out your rib cage to its maximum, your thoracic to its maximum
Hmm.
capability. Now,
Hmm.
uh, most people don't realize that you have actually 780 square feet of spread out into the lung tissue. So if you open the lung tissue and you spread it out, you'd cover half a tennis court.
Wow.
You have more than 30,000 alveoli, I mean, maybe even more than
Hmm.
that, okay, which process the oxygen, the air that's coming in, okay, hits the capillaries, hits these alveoli, and then transforms that into the blood within the alveoli and pushes it towards the heart, and your heart pumps it out to the rest of the body.
Hmm.
So, uh, most people don't realize that, where are we? Yeah. So, most people on an average, we breathe in and out 12 to 20 times, okay, in a minute, in 1 minute.
Correct.
So
Hmm.
in 24 hours, you're taking in more than 8,000 and breathing out 8,000 liters of air in 24-hour
Hmm.
cycle.
Hmm.
That's a huge amount of air.
Correct.
Okay.
Hmm.
And you're doing this every single day, whether you're sleeping, standing, writing, sitting, whatever you're doing, you're still doing this.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Hmm.
this this uh, breathing under pressure, all right, both internal and external, breathing out. So when you breathe in, all right, your diaphragm goes down, allowing your lungs to expand. Okay, so here you need muscular contraction. You need the muscles of breathing muscles, basically, all right, which are your pectorals, your intercostals,
Correct.
all right, between the muscles between your ribs.
The ribs.
Okay, and when you're doing this, not only do you expand, all right, but the positioning of your stance enhances this. So you can take in much more oxygen and come out with much and release all the toxins out through your carbon duct. Okay. The second aspect is the two muscular contractions, basically. Right? One is the isometric, where the body is kept rigid, but the hands are doing the isotonic movement. So you're getting the best of the two aspects. Both you're using, whereas for example, in weight training, okay, you either use one or you use the other.
Correct.
Let's say you're doing a shoulder workout. So you're doing an isometric workout. You got two light dumbbells at the other end. You're doing circle, then you do counter circle, then you go push forward, you push backward, you lift up and down, you lift down and up, right? So, and you do this each, like let's say 50 repetitions, even 100 repetitions, right? And your arms are on fire. And this is isometric.
Yeah.
If you want to do isotonic for the shoulders, you take a barbell and do a shoulder press. So, but you can't do two simultaneously. Here in Sanchin, you're doing both simultaneously. Your body is rigid and your hands are doing the isotonic. And you're also focusing, every time you focus, right, in this action, for example, here, right, at the end of your punching action, and then you're breathing in, you're doing this. At this point, throughout the movement of the hand going, let's say your body is tensed about 40% to 60%. At this one point, that one instant, fraction of a second, it should go up to 100%. Again, I repeat again, this depends on your level of training.
Correct.
How far you've come into this. Okay. All right. And this can only happen, you can reach this level only if you've been practicing it every day. Then only can you come to this level. And to come to this level take you 10, 15, 20, depending how many years you want to give it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's like any level of any expertise, so to say. You take a concert pianist, right? The result of you listening to that concert pianist is not that he's done this once. He's done this more than 1,000 times.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why he's able to play the way he can. It's only practice, and more practice that will get you to that level. Now, you mentioned over here what are the immediate and the long-term benefits of doing Sanchin training. One is that keeps you in top shape. Both, not as I mentioned, both internally and externally.
Correct.
Right? Okay. And Sanchin actually, the San and Chin is made of the two characters in calligraphy, in Japanese calligraphy, in kanji. Right? And San means 3. It's the number 3. And Chin means battle. So 3 battles. That's what it means. Right? In the battles, it's not on the battlefield or you're clobbering somebody or clobbering 3 people. It's not that. It's the battle that we all have conflict within ourselves. We always question ourselves. Am
Hmm.
I doing the right thing? Is this the
Hmm.
right stuff to eat? Is this the right exercise to do? Okay.
Hmm.
So you're always questioning yourself. And you question yourself on three aspects. One is the physical body. Second is the mind, which is all over the place.
Hmm.
And third is your spirit.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, we have what we call Sanchin Shime. I'd like to talk about that for a little while.
Sure, sure, sure. Yes.
Uh, and a lot of people say that Sanchin Shime is testing. It's not testing, it's correcting.
Hmm.
This the sensei, right, watches the student doing the kata. Then he will test him right from the ground up. He will test to see whether the toes are correctly placed, whether the plantar is pushed into the ground,
Hmm.
okay, whether the ankle is inverted or everted, right?
Correct. Hmm.
Okay, so he corrects this. And he'll tap this thing, telling the person to go to spread the toes, to grip the toes. Then he'll push the lower legs out. Now, this is the action of Sanchin Stance. Okay, the lower legs form an inward concentric circle, like a spiral. Imagine a
Hmm.
spring from your
Hmm.
foot right up to your knee, going
Hmm.
inwards.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Then from the knee to your upper thigh, right down to your crotch.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
another spiral turning outwards. So
Hmm.
this forces the muscles of the lower leg inwards and the muscles of the outer leg outwards,
Outwards. Hmm.
thereby creating a wedge of your vastus medialis muscle,
Hmm.
as well as your contraction of your pincer muscle through your glutes and through your your what did I say earlier? Your lower abdominal, your pelvic,
Correct.
right? The
Hmm.
pelvic floor muscle. I always get mixed up
Okay.
in that.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this is then enhanced over here. All right.
Hmm.
And this makes uh, and then the sensei taps you on your thighs to see if they're strong enough, right?
Hmm.
He'll he'll tap you here. He'll actually hit hard, and it depends on the level of the student and the level of the sensei,
Hmm.
right? If he feels that even though the student has been doing it for the last 15 years, but he sees, and whilst he's watching him, he sees and he notices that he's thinking of something else. He's not in the kata. So
Hmm.
then he won't go all out and hit him. But if he feels that this guy is doing it well, then he'll go harder and harder. And this develops the spirit
Oh.
because you get this hump on your shoulders
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you're shocked out of your mind. In fact, the first time I did it to uh, a student who is now a teacher in his own right. I won't mention names, all right? In
Hmm.
his own right. He'll understand who I'm talking about. So if he's listening to this, I'm sure he'll realize. And I told him to do Sanchin Kata. Then I went behind him and I corrected him and then I hit him. The last three actions were done so fast, he finished the kata in less than about 2 seconds because he couldn't take the. I've had students running away from me when I come down hard on them. I remember when Sensei Higaona, I brought him down over here and we are having a karate camp in Danu. It's a seaside
Okay.
resort, okay,
Hmm.
on the coast, on the western coast. And I had invited a lot of other instructors from other styles to come and take part in Sensei's training. And we'd gone down to the beach in the evening, and he told me that he would do uh, for all the people and our students. he would demonstrate Tensho. And he asked me to do Sanchin. So when I was doing Sanchin, he was doing the Shime, the correction. All right. And my shoulders are black with this constant
Oh,
hitting, totally black,
wow.
because the blood rushes up to the surface. No? And in some cases, the skin tears also sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and since we were doing it on the beach, okay, when the kata finished, I was down to my ankles in the sand.
Wow.
So this is the type of training we go through. So it develops your body, it develops your mind, okay, and it develops your spirit. So
Right.
San Kin, the three battles, mind, body, spirit. The ultimate, I would say, the final realization of Sanchin training would be basically it's your body is separate, your mind is separate, and your spirit is separate, right? It's the integration of all three coming into one unit. And that I would say would be the ideal or nirvana, as we say, attainment of the final goal, or satori in Japanese, for example. The integration of all three aspects into one coherent human being. That would be the ultimate aim of training in Sanchin. The short term is, of course,
Why?
prevalent. It makes you strong. It makes you tough. It makes you hard. It makes you soft also. Okay, right? Because through your own training, through your the amount of time you spend on this, it's about 4 minutes. It lasts about 4 minutes, 3 minutes sometimes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes for juniors. It depends on your level. Okay, and one more point of advice to all people who would like to try Sanchin or who do Sanchin is that please, 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 I cannot repeat this often enough. Learn it under a master. Don't attempt to do it by reading my book or watching YouTube and then doing it, because you're going to land up with injury. Okay? All right. I've had people fainting in the class. And fortunately, I've been able to resuscitate them. So, but if you're alone, there's nobody to resuscitate you. You can do yourself a bad injury unnecessarily. So please, please, please do this under a master, a person who has been doing it for many years himself and knows the limitations and the setbacks that a person will go through, because he's gone through it himself.
Correct.
The main difference between a beginner and a sensei is that the sensei has practiced more than the beginner has even thought of. The sensei has made more mistakes than the beginner has even attempted to.
Correct. That's very true.
That's what separates the teacher from the student, right? So there you have it. Oh, what's the time now? Oh, we still got a little time, I think.
Yes, we have 15 minutes. So yeah, Sensei, that was quite in depth, and I never realized that Sanchin could help with so many aspects, and I never knew that. Even I was under the impression that this was a test, the hitting and the checking.
It's not. And
I was not aware that it was spiritual.
Yeah, that's right. And it's very important that Sanchin is taken one-on-one. Like, for example, if you're doing another kata, a self-defense kata, you take a class, the whole class, right? And then you're watching and then you correct each student. Okay? But Sanchin is a very, very difficult kata. because it
Hmm. Hmm.
involves a lot of aspects. I mean, the basic movements of the kata are easy, and a person can learn it in a month's time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
there's a
Hmm.
punch and a kamai, and a punch and a kamai. That's it. And the last actions
Hmm.
are what we call mountain block. Okay,
Hmm.
and the last two actions are the tiger's mouth, the toraguchi, which
Hmm.
you can learn within about 2-3 months. So the
Hmm.
actions themselves are not very difficult, but the
Hmm.
coordination, getting everything together, takes you a
Huh.
lifetime. Takes you a lifetime. Okay.
Correct. Wow. Yes. And you correctly said that spirit, mind, and body. So when you addressed us in Niyud Sabha just a few months ago, you did mention that first the physical body gets affected, then you mentally get into it, and then at the end comes the spiritual part because it takes a
Absolutely.
long time to get into it.
Yeah, it takes a long time. Huge,
Mm.
huge.
Mm.
It's a way of life, basically.
Mm.
It's a way of life.
Yeah, because when you when you were sitting next to me and you said that I'm really interested in knowing the spiritual aspects from you, I told you I can't. I'm not talking about spiritual aspects because I mean, yeah, because you've been in Goju-Ryu more than my age, so that's spiritual. That is spirituality. Yeah.
Yeah.
So rightly said. So Sensei, thank you so much for addressing us today. It was
My
great
pleasure.
listening to you. As Sensei Rajesh also had commented when the commenting was off, he had put up a comment that you're putting up excellent knowledge and he still can't take your Sanchin Kata examination. He said correction, sorry, correct me.
So
So thank you everybody for, sorry, go ahead please.
no. So it's very important that, especially for the sensors, okay, to find the time to
Hmm,
correct each student, each senior student at least, who's
hmm,
been doing something for a long time, and to
hmm,
take him individually aside and correct
hmm,
his technique in Sanchin. It's very
hmm,
important. I
hmm,
remember once when I had gone for a chief instructor's seminar uh, to Okinawa many years ago.
hmm,
Uh, I think it was one of my first trips to Okinawa. And we had, there was Sensei Higaonna, there was Sensei Anichi Miyagi, Sensei Higaonna's teacher, Sensei
hmm,
Aragaki, also Sensei Higaonna's teacher, and two other senseis. So you didn't have one person doing teaching or taking your kata. You had four
hmm,
people. One
hmm,
would be pushing you from the back. The other guy would be pushing you from the front. Another one would be pushing you from the side. You'd suddenly get a
hmm.
mashigiri or a kick on the thigh, and next minute you're getting a thump on the shoulders. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can even have two instructors taking the student, which is what we do
Hmm, hmm,
sometimes, right?
hmm,
But I let some of the seniors in a session, for example. Uh, I tell one of the seniors to take the main session, and then I take
hmm,
two seniors out, and I take them
hmm,
separately in Sanchin or Tensho Kata,
hmm, hmm,
thereby improving their level.
hmm.
Otherwise, how are they going to improve, right?
Correct. Hmm,
And the other thing is that normally under any uh, exercise endeavor, okay, uh, you your heart will always pump faster,
hmm,
right? Okay, to keep up with whatever exercise you're doing. So if your
hmm,
resting heart rate is, let's say, 68, 69, all right,
hmm,
and you're exercising, right, and you take your pulse rate again, it'll be 72, 74, whatever. In
hmm,
Sanchin, the reverse happens.
hmm,
Your heart rate actually slows down.
hmm,
And in a grading examination, when you're asked to do Sanchin, uh, I always take the student's pulse before and after the Sanchin Kata. Thereby knowing that his breathing and coordination of his muscularity is going in the right direction. So if he starts out with a 72 pulse rate or a 74 pulse rate, because he's done a lot of other things in the grading, so it'll probably be at 100 plus, 110, 120. And then you do Sanchin. And if it comes down, then you know he's on the right track.
Oh.
Okay. And even the BP comes down to a certain extent. Your pressure.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see in the book that I've written, I've taken right at the end. Here I've taken the pulmonary function test. Okay. And also I've taken here post-Sanchin, pre-Sanchin, post-Sanchin of all the students. Okay. Their pulse rate and the BP and the temperature. So all three things, and all three are definitely moving in the right direction. So there you have it. I think we got 5 minutes more. So it encompasses the entirety of your both your physicality, your mental toughness, and your spirituality and your spirit. They never say die attitude, basically. No matter what you have to go through. Okay, you never give up. And that's what Sanchin procreates, enhances. So, your turn now.
So thank you so much, Shihan, for addressing us today. Indeed, it was quite a lot of knowledge. I can see some comments that we want this again, and a lot of good knowledge given. So I hope everybody applies this to their own martial arts routine, especially if they're from Goju-Ryu and other styles of karate, and takes advantage.
Under a master. Yes, under a master.
Yes.
Okay.
Shihan, have a good day, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, I hope so.
Hope so, yes.
Okay. You take care. Right? And hi to everybody. Thank you for listening in.
Thank you, everyone.